Whenever you're ready.
Okay, start.
Yeah.
Hooray.
Okay. Welcome everyone at this presentation about how to change Joomla without the core hacks. Um, in short, this is my background. I won't go into details. I started PHP MySQL in 2003 and I'm helping out within the project. But this is why you're here for. So, first of all, I will tell something about core hacks. Then I will show 8 alternatives to core hacks, and I will end this presentation with a method how to undo core hacks. Core hacks. First of all, Joomla is open source software. As we know, there is a license with it. It's called GNU GPL, which allows us and makes it able for us to change everything in the Joomla code. But that doesn't mean that we have to change everything in the Joomla code. We can do it. A core hack, I think a core hack is a modification in the source code, and it can be a Joomla source code, but it can also be a third-party extension. So, who in the room here did some core hacks? Well, it's not really smart to do core hacks in Joomla or in third-party extensions. So, who in this room here did some core hacks?
Who broke their site?
Sorry, it's a bit stupid to do core hacks. Who in this audience does use core hacks? Right. I know if you do core hacks, please make some documentation about it, because otherwise you have to use the method I will show at the end of my presentation. Core hacks. Core hacks. If you do core hacks in the Joomla core code, third-party extensions might break. You don't know, because they expect that the core code of Joomla is like something, and if you change it, well, it is not that anymore. But maintainability is even more worse, because if you change Joomla and you do an upgrade, your changes get lost. Especially now, if you do for a client an update, they might undo it by just updating it with the Joomla updater. It's really convenient, but don't use core hacks if it's possible to do something else. A core hack you could use in Joomla is with the contact form, because Joomla's contact form, it's really nice. Your visitors can contact you, send you an email, and if you look in the source code of the email, you can see an IP address. The IP address in the source code of the email is the IP address of your server. So if you want to know the address of the visitor, it's not in the email. And if you want to have the visitor's IP address in the email, you can do something like this. This is a core hack. When you open components com_contact, it's the contact component. There is a folder called controllers, and it has one file which is the contact.php, and it is a controller that will send the email. If you open it and you find $mail arrow set body, you can add some stuff to it. Here it says $_server remote address, and there you retrieve the IP address of the visitor, and you just add it to the body of the email. It's good, because then you get something like this, IP address just in the email. But it might not survive a Joomla upgrade. So this is not the way to go. Therefore, I would like to give you 8 alternatives to core hacks. And those alternatives, I will start with the easy ones, and I will end with the really difficult ones. And I doubt if we ever use the difficult ones. Well, I probably would not use it myself, but just in case, you know where to look. So the first of all the alternatives is the template override. Who uses template overrides? All right, who doesn't? Okay. Well, in short, a template override. A template in Joomla. A template in Joomla will show the layout of the website, and besides all the colors, it also has some certain designated areas in the template where Joomla will put some HTML output from the components and from the modules. And the components and the modules, they supply their own HTML output. Since Joomla 1.5, it's possible to use template overrides. And the template overrides, what you do is you copy the output of the component or the module, and you just put it on some other place. There you make the changes, and even if Joomla, if the original ones are overwritten, your copy will be used. So it's a good way to not have to use callbacks. For example, the latest news module. With the latest news module, you can get the latest news, the last added news of a website just on a one page. This is if you install Joomla with example content, then you get these 5 articles which are considered as latest news. Let's assume you have a customer, and this customer thinks, yeah, it's nice, but I would like to have the date with it, because I can see that beginners is maybe the most recent, but when? So you can put a date with it. To do it like that, just create a template override. In your template folder, you have a template, the template you work with. You create HTML of a subfolder, and in the subfolder you create a new folder for the module override. And in this case, I know that my module is called mod_articles_latest. So that's what I just add to it. Then I go to the original module, and in the original module there is a TMPL file. So it's modules, mod_articles, latest, TMPL, and then it says default.php. I just copy this file, put it in my template override folder under the same name, and then you have a template override. Nothing happens because it's just a copy.
Same.
Yeah, exactly. So in order to see if it's really working, I just go to this file in the template override folder, and I just add some text. Just press your keyboard a couple of times, save it, and look on the page of on the front page of your website. If you see it, the garbage on the page, it's working. And you remove it, and you start the official stuff, the good stuff. So if you look at Joomla, Joomla uses objects, and in an object, all kinds of information is stored. So there is an object called list, and in this module, this list, this object is extracted. So you have all tiny parts which are called item, and in item there are a couple of different variables stored, like the title, which is already on the screen, like it says here, item title. But I would like to have the date. So how to find out what the date is? Well, there is something called print_r. It's a function that will show you the contents of a variable. And in this case, it's something like this. Easy. It's easy, yeah. Well, here I spotted something which said created. And if you look at the database structure, you will notice that created is also the field in your database. And you see some sort of date. So 2011, 1/1. So that's the created date. And if you say created, and you put it just before the item title, this is the output. So finished, customer happy. So 10 minutes later, my customer calls. I don't like this. I don't know what it is. Yeah, it's the date. Yeah, this is the date, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, date. Oh, now I see it. So they want to have a real date, not the MySQL date. So what you do is you have to change it a bit. This is a bit a lot to tell, so I don't go into details. It will be in my sheet, but in short, here I ask for the configuration, then I ask for the configuration of the user, and both of these have a variable called time zone. So I live in the Netherlands, and in the Netherlands we are UTC plus 1 or 2. I don't know. You have summer savings and so. So, well, here it takes into account the date. I mean the server time zone, and also the person who logged in. And this is what you get. Still too much, because this I should have gotten away with that. This is how you can make a template override. Then, alternative layouts. Who uses alternative layouts?
I've heard of them a lot. Another developer that I know who's trying to use it extensively on an enterprise level site, so this is great. Keep going.
Okay. This is really, really, really difficult. Not. Because alternative layouts are just template layouts, template overrides. Only it's a sort of extended template override. It will give, if you use it, it will give the administrators of a website more freedom to choose whatever they want to choose, because you give them extra options. What you have to do, you also have to do to use the templates override folder. There are 4 different types you can use, and if I look to my mod_latest articles, what I did was I just went to this folder, and the default.php, that's my template override. But if I create a copy of this and I give it another name and I change it, then I have an alternative override. Let me show it. If I go to my first method, there was a file called default.php. If you change the name, you just rename it, because it's now an override. But if you rename it and you say layout with date.php, don't use underscores, only the dashes. But if you do it like that, and if you go to the module manager, then it's a bit difficult to see, but on the right side you have advanced options, and one of those says alternative layout, and you can choose between the default.php and the layout with date.php. So that's everything. Yeah?
Why no underscores?
I have no idea, but it doesn't work.
The underscores are, I think, they are reserved for subcontext. In fact, you have a default.php.
Sorry?
If you have a default.php file, inside you can load in a subfolder, a subfile. You can call your template file default_item.php.
Yeah.
And in default, you can call a load_item function, and it will call the default_item.php.
Yeah. I've seen some developers use this method to have different kinds of lists, like unordered and ordered list, because they have different kinds of stylings. But well, so far number 2.
Does it just automatically recognize that you've duplicated that file?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you apply it for components? Or, in a module, it's got an area to select it, but if you want to have alternative layout for a component, where are those layouts selected?
I haven't used those. I can't answer that. I only used for the modules.
Works the same way with components,
yeah, probably,
just the views.
And also for the how do you say it? For the module menus.
Yeah.
I would like to go to the third option you have. It's called language overrides. When I ask you here who uses Corhex, not everybody did like this. But I think some people were or lying, or they didn't know that changing something in a language file is also a core hack, because it is. Language overrides makes it possible to do it in a neat way. Before Joomla 2.5, you had to core hack the language files to change anything in the system labels of Joomla. But if you go in 2.5 to extensions, language manager, and then you have here overrides. If everything is well, you don't see anything here. But you can create your own overrides, like you just say new. And in my case, I don't like read more, because I really don't like read more. I would like to have it read much more. So, what I did was, I just went to the override manager, new, and then I here on the right side, I said read more, and I said it's a value, but you can also look for constants. And then at the bottom, you have a whole list of things that have the string read more in it. I selected one, and it just said read much more. So, and then here you see the label. Joomla searches the label for you. And here it says the language label, and this is my own text. And this is the result. Yeah, you can see stroke bubbles again. Read more becomes read much more. That's all. Something very important, because what I just showed you was the front end, but maybe in the back end you would like to change things. If you want, make sure that the filter in the overrides is set to admin, otherwise it won't see the admin language files. You can also change it directly in the file itself. Like for the English ones, I could add this here. And then two remarks. First of all, I had this problem. I was at Joomla Day Cape Town, and I had I did a duo presentation with with Matt from South Africa, and we were talking about how to create a Joomla website in 10 steps for multi-language. And then we were just showing off what we knew about these languages. And I said, well, here, I have installed Xmap. So I showed him that I was able to change the Xmap in the admin menu. I mean, when you started up on the components, it said Xmap or Sitemap Manager, to make it Peter's Sitemaps Manager. That was nice. And then he said, yeah, can you do that for the African language as well? Because, well, it's possible, but we tried and we tried and we tried, and we didn't work out. We had a problem with it. And then after maybe 5 or 10 minutes, we looked to each other. Oh no, I didn't install the language files for African. Oh. And this system will only look in the language files which are present. So that's difficult. So you have to install the language files for all the extensions if you want to change them. If you use third-party extensions, like Community Builder, you have a problem as well. Because Community Builder doesn't use Joomla's language files. It has its own language file, so you can't use this for such components.
One comment about third-party extensions as well. Some third-party extensions share their admin language files with the front end. So sometimes you have to search in the admin parts to find the front end overrides.
Okay, good point. Well, we don't want to name names, but what component was it?
I'll get it to fix it at some point.
Okay, this is method number 4. You can use plugins to change things. I had this customer. It was a company in the chemical line of business, gas detection or something. And I created a website for them, and they were happy with it. But after 2 weeks, I got a phone call, and the customer said, "Yeah, Peter, I've been looking around, but I can't find it. And yeah, Joomla is really simple, but I want to have the chemical formulas in the menus. It should be simple, shouldn't it? I looked at it, and I discovered that Joomla, it is possible to have chemical formulas in the text, but it is not possible to have it in menu items or articles. I tried to use the sub tag of the HTML sub tag. It just filters it out, so it doesn't work. So we had a bit of a problem. I was looking at a menu module, maybe I could change something over there, but I didn't want to core hack. And luckily, some other Dutchman came to the rescue with one of his extensions. His name is Peter van Westen, he is also here around. And this plugin, called Replacer, is just a sort of workaround. Because it has a component and it has a system plugin. And the component, you can use it to add stuff that you want to have replaced. And the system plugin will replace it on the fly, just before the page is shown on the screen. So what I did was I created two tags, a subscript and a start and an end, just like this. I said, well, I would like to have hashtag, sub hashtag, and I want to have it replaced with smaller than, sub greater than. And the same with for the end of the tag. And when I showed this method to Peter later on, he said, yeah, you can do it just in one. But well, this is in 2 steps. So what I accomplished was water is H2O. You see it here in the title, you see it in the text, and you see it in the menu item. There's only one thing. When you create a menu item, make sure that you go to the browser page title and set it to water is H2O. Otherwise, you will end up with this funky stuff in the title. And the same goes for the menu and the article alias. You have to replace them manually. Otherwise, yeah, Joomla will say something in it. Method number 5. You can also clone stuff. If you clone something, that means you create a copy of it. Joomla won't overwrite the copy of it. It only overwrites the original file. But if you don't use the original file, but only the clones, there's no problem. So in this case, I have a customer. I created an extension for them. It's a component to add stuff like they value cars, and they go to components and they choose my component. But I thought, oh, let's make it easy for this customer. So I created my own, how do you say it? One quick icon. If you click it, you go to component. So I spoiled my client a bit. They were used to it. But I used a core hack. So maybe 2 or 3 times after I updated their Joomla website, I got a phone call. Peter, the taxation manager, it doesn't work anymore. Then I remembered I should have read on the core hack. So this is a method I should have done instead. To add your quick icon without doing a core hack, because you can do it with a core hack, but it can be overwritten. I looked at the template output. So this component has a default.php, and this is some code in it. And in this code, I see no specification of all the buttons, because the buttons are specified in the helper file. And because they are in the helper file, I can't use a template override, because the template override can only be done for the TMPL files. And the helper file is just here in this folder. So what I did was I just copied the mod_quick icon in the administrator folder, I copy to mod underscore quick icon 2. And then the game starts. I mean, you have to rename everything. Mod quick icon 2, mod quick icon XML should be mod quick icon 2 XML. And then you have to do the same for the reference inside of the files. So I opened the quick icon 2.php and I changed all the quick icon to quick icon 2. I did the same for the XML file. And after that, it's not visible in Joomla, but you have to go to extensions. Yeah, extensions, extension manager, and this is really neat in Joomla 2.5. You have the discover option. If you choose discover and you click on the button discover, my clone will show up. It says mod underscore quick icon 2, and you select it, install, and then it works. But it's not a module. I mean, I can install it as a module now. So I go to the module manager. I set the filter to administrator because it's an administrator module. Then I say new and I select mod underscore quick icon 2. I give it a title, a good position, the icon position. And here's something wrong. I didn't copy the language files. I should have copied the language files, also with the 2 at the end. So therefore, but doesn't matter. Oops, error. I forgot something. There is a helper file also, and I had to change something else. The class name, which said not quick icon helper 2 or helper, should have a 2 added to it, and then it works. But then it's just a clone. And here I will add in the helper file some code to create a button that links to the search component. Here the link is the component name, com underscore search. Here I specified the image. This is the text underneath the image, and this is for the access to the ACL. So this is how you end up. You have a nice search button, and if you update Joomla, it doesn't get overwritten. But there are better ways to do this. I mean, maybe there are some plugins. You can go to the JED, but this was just to show you how to be able to clone something.
That discover feature, I never used that one. So that if you have an extension and you just made that clone, this prevents you from having to go, make a zip file and then reinstall.
Yeah.
You can just install right from the directory.
It's the same for templates.
Okay.
In the past, when you had Joomla 1.5, you just uploaded the template and you could select it. Now you have to upload the template, just all the files and the folder with all the files, and you have to discover it and then you can use it. This is method number 6. And where are we now? Okay, method number 6, a component with your own controller. Because, well, let's go back to this contact form. The contact component has a couple of actions. You can display details, you can display a contact form, but you can also retrieve input and send it to an email address. The IP address is missing, the IP address of the visitor, and that is. You can't do it with a template override. You can clone the component, but it's so much work, I don't like to do that. So maybe you can use a plugin, but I don't know which. But what I did is add your own controller. This is how it works. First of all, you go to the controllers folder of the component and you just copy or add your own controller to it. And then you create a template override which will trigger your own controller. The core hack I did in the beginning of the session. I will redo it, but with my own controller. First, I create a template override, com contact, and this is the view contact. And in the contact form, there is some HTML output called default underscore form. I copy it, and I just put it in this override folder. When I open my templates, your templates, HTML contact default underscore form, that's my template override. I just go to the bottom of it, and in the bottom it says something like contact, a hidden variable for task, and it says contact dot submit. And when I change contact for my own name, in this case my own controller, the contact form will trigger my own controller.php. What I did is I went to the component contact controllers contact. I copied it, and I just gave my own name, my own controller. Then I opened it, and I saw there is a class name called contact controller contact, and I just changed it a bit. I added my own name to it. There is something you have to do. Joomla, when you use things, Joomla, how do you say it? Joomla thinks that the model it should load should be my own controller. So you get something wrong. So you have to specify the controller. But if you do it like this, it's okay. And then this is just the same as how I started out. I added my IP address, and this is the result. And this will survive an upgrade. Something else. Extra fields. Has anyone here used extra fields for the users? No?
No,
Yeah?
that's
Okay, great.
good.
What you can do, there's a plugin, and it's called users fields or something. Oh, sorry, I will do it. I'll do it differently. First of all, Joomla has a couple of different extensions. The components are triggered by setting something in the URL. Like here it says index.php. I forgot something. Task is a COM component or something. There should be something in between, but the COM component will be triggered. Modules will be run because they are assigned to a menu item, and plugins will listen to certain events. And that means forms have a sort of event, and you can program a plugin that listens that will run on those events. For instance, if you look at the extended user profile, it's a plugin. It's a core plugin. You just go to the plugins folder of Joomla and you set it on. And when you switch it on, you will besides the normal fields like username, name, email address, password, you get all kinds of fields like address, zip code, whatever. If you are older than 13 or 15 or something, you can do everything with it. The COM user profile, it has 4 different forms. On the front end, you have the user registration form and also the edit. And in the back end, you have the user manager to edit the user. But you can also go to profile view form. And this plugin has a couple of different functionalities, like display, save, and delete. So what you have to do is, there are a couple of events that you can use to listen to and to start code with. I think it's a bit too difficult to go into details now, but there is actual documentation at the docs website, documentation website of Joomla. But this kind of plugin, you can create some yourself if you can program, and you can even add fields to articles. So instead of just having a title, text, you can add stuff to your articles as well. I don't go into details, but there's also at the documentation site a really nice article. So, did it work? Or should I go back?
Yeah.
Okay. The last one is overriding core classes. It's I think too difficult. I will just tell some basics, because if you ever want to use it, you know that you can use it, and you just look at them. Joomla works with objects, and they have classes, and those classes are loaded just before everything else is loaded. But there is something that says load once. So if you are able to create a class which is loaded once, Joomla won't reload it because it will use yours. So what you can do, this is something I read in Joomla Programming, an excellent book from Mark Dexter and Louis Landry. But there's also documentation at the documentation website, and it will tell you how to include your own class. But it's really neat. But there's one problem. You can only override classes that are not loaded before the system plugins are loaded, because you can't override those. I won't go into details. I was thinking about maybe we could do some other stuff like htaccess and do 301 redirect. So I redirect a new file instead of my old file, but it doesn't work. Because if you use htaccess, your Apache uses it. So if you use PHP, PHP doesn't use Apache, but it uses file system. So you can't use it for overrides. I also thought about symbolic links. I haven't tried it. I don't know if it works. If you have time, you can try it yourself. And I'm very interested in if it works. Now, I'm sure that after this presentation, we don't use Corehacks anymore. However, there are people who do it. And if we get new clients that have websites with Corehacks, we want to undo those Corehacks. But if you look at Joomla 2.5.8, without any third-party extensions, it's about 5,500 items, files, 19 megabyte. So if you have to find all the changes, good luck. Does anyone have a suggestion what we can do? Okay, yeah.
Migrate them out of whatever they're hacked in to something that's not hacked. Great opportunity.
Yeah, yeah.
I think admin tools tells you if any core files are modified.
What tool?
Admin tools?
Oh yeah. Okay, that's a good one. Yeah.
We're playing around with a solution where you can download a fresh copy of Joomla,
Yeah.
put it in Git,
Yeah.
paste over the new version,
Yeah.
and look for the modified files, and it'll show you the diffs.
Great method. I do something similar, but not with Git. I do it on my own computer. So what I did was, first of all, there is a tool called diff. What you use on Git is also diff, but then on the other server. It's nice. If you have Linux or Mac OS X, there is a tool, GUI called Meld, and it will enable you to just find all the changes. If you have Windows, WinMerge is excellent. What you have to do to find the modifications in the core files, first back up your website. I always use Akiba for that. Make sure you have a local LAMP stack. I have my own LAMP, Linux, and I develop my website over there. So what I do is I create two folders. One I call my site with hack, and I put my Akiba backup in it. And the other is my site without hack. I put also Akiba in it. So I have two files, two folders with core hacks. I do the same with databases. And here you go with download Joomla and take the same version as your version that has core hacks. Download all third-party extensions that you use in the same versions. And furthermore, unzip Joomla on your local computer, and copy all the files except for the installation folder. Copy it to your My Site Without hack. If you overwrite all the Joomla files in My Site Without hack, you have the original Joomla over there. Then install all third-party extensions in your site without hack. So then you have one site which is called My Site with hack, with the modified files, and one site, My Site Without hack, with all new files, which are the clean ones. So then you have those two folders. You start your div tool. In my case, I use meld, and I just here it says file comparison. In my case, I chose directory comparison, and I looked. I had My Site with hack and My Site without hack here, and then OK, and then you get something like this. What I see here is something red, something gray, and something green. Green means it's new. It's not in any other site. Red means it's the same, but there is a modification. I mean, they are not exactly the same. So what you can do is you double-click it, and when you double-click it, you get all those code. And on the right-hand side, you have this tiny scroll bar, and in the scroll bar, there can be some horizontal lines, which means here is a modification. And in this case, my modification, here it says mail set body, and there it says set body IP address server remote address. Somebody hacked this file. So this is how to spot it. And this is the end of the presentation. But first of all, core hacks are evil. Don't do it. I just discussed 8 different methods, and I also showed you how to undo a core hack. Does anyone have a question? Because I have one sheet left. Because I already told you don't hack, because they can get upgrade. My bag got lost. But there is a problem with most of the things I just showed you, because what I did was I used template overrides, but a template override is a sort of hack on a copy of it. So what if the original file has really great improvements? It gets on your server, but you don't use it. So the code improvements won't make it into your modified copy. So that's the difficulty with all these methods. Questions? Yes?
Go over the controllers hack 6.